On YouTube, there is a wealth of information to help creators grow their channels, but most of it is a dangerous distraction from what really matters. Arguments about tags and wondering if you should or shouldn't ask people to subscribe are not fixes for your problem. Getting better viewer retention is, so if you're sitting there frustrated that everything you do seems to change nothing, then it's time to shift all of your focus to making videos that keep your viewers' eyes glued to the screen. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say I have 80% retention on every video, because that's just not true. But it is possible, and just knowing that information is the important part of this, because retention should be about always trying to improve your videos, not just aiming for a single magic number. So I set out to try and find a way to show you some of the best retention tips going. And that's when I remembered a YouTuber with 1.6 million subscribers. Someone who smashes out hit after hit and is one of the best at keeping you interested in her content, and her name's Shelby Church. Now, whether you've heard of Shelby or not, pulling apart her videos with me are going to let you in on some of the top retention techniques big YouTube channels use all of the time without you even realising. But right now you're probably wondering, what is a good retention percentage for a video? But I'm afraid to say a good percentage isn't 50% or 60, it's 85 in the case of Mr. Beast. What I want you to realise is this number doesn't matter at all. What matters is how you react to this number when you see it. A good audience retention percentage is always about trying to beat your previous personal best. So I dedicated quite a lot of time to watch one of Shelby's videos over and over again to analyse what it is that she does to make such engrossing content. And the first thing that stuck out more than anything else is that Shelby is an epic storyteller. Story is incredibly important when it comes to getting a high viewer retention percentage and keeping people interested. Now, you can simply tell a story by just saying one like I did at the start of this. Remember this? But just telling a story is only scratching the surface of what's possible here. Really, you need to show it the Shelby way. So to learn more about retention, I focused on one of Shelby's videos that she made about how to make money using the writing platform Medium, because she managed to make a really impressive video without leaving her bedroom, which meant I had to watch the same video over and over again. So let's kick this off by analysing how Shelby creates intros, and in particular, her hook.
These days, with everyone being stuck at home, you might be looking for a way to make money online.
So the line here is, these days of everyone being stuck at home, you might be looking for a way to make more money online. Now, I mentioned in my watch time video that you want to work out what your viewers really care about within the video you are making. And Shelby's intro hits her viewers' interest hard because it was released at the start of the pandemic when people were worried about making money. So to the viewer, it's like she's reading their mind. But not only that, by watching her videos, there was clearly another layer to her storytelling, and that's that she tells her story using B-roll. So let me get you up to speed with what B-roll is exactly. Me, right now talking to you, this is known as A-roll. It's the narrative part of the video. B-roll is the footage that goes on top of the A-roll, and that helps to tell a story. The important thing here is your B-roll needs to work with what's being said by the A-roll. So the opening line, these days with everyone being stuck at home, you might be looking for ways to make money, then shows Shelby at home looking a bit worried. Also, what I love about this shot is the way she's sat on her chair kind of isolated makes it feel like she's more alone. And this is how a lot of people would have been feeling. It could have been about the 10th time of watching the video's intro when something else stuck out, like a sore pair of eyes that had been watching the same video over and over again. And that was the pace. Shelby has 10 different changes of scene in the first 20 seconds. In fact, one shot is never on screen for more than 3 seconds. And then the second part of her intro sets up her viewer as to what the channel is about. Now, this is often a place that kills retention and slows things down because people feel the need to elaborate as to what their channel is about. And then some people love to show logo stingers and a montage of video clips that just get in the way of what your viewers care about. Here, Shelby does exactly what those kind of stingers attempt to do, but in a way that's really interesting and useful. And she says,
on my channel, we've already gone over a bunch of ways people do this, with YouTube, podcasts, Amazon, even Airbnb.
By talking about the past, what she was really doing was letting people know not just what she's about, but what else is on her channel that they can watch after too. Now, the next thing about this intro, which might surprise you, is that in the first 60 seconds, Shelby's only on camera talking for 18 seconds. Everything else is B-roll. In fact, there are 19 clips of B-roll in the first 60 seconds here. So almost 2/3 of her opening minute, she's not on screen talking, which tells you just how important it is to add other video clips and keep things going. So that's the first thing I want you to try and do to boost your attention, is to film footage that helps you tell a visual story, which you are then going to add to your A-roll. And then try to get as close as you can to only ever being on screen for a third of the video.
So I felt like 20 views of the first 60 seconds of this video was probably enough, and I moved on to the main part of the video to find out how exactly Shelby kept our attention for the rest of it.
Now, if you were hoping that you would only need to do 60 seconds of non-stop footage changes, well, I'm afraid it's not that easy, this.
Shelby maintains her storytelling and B-roll at the same pace throughout the entire video. The next 10.5 minutes used the same techniques as the first 60 seconds, and the thing that makes this style so genius is
it never feels like you're watching an educational video, not once.
I kept watching the video, and the next thing that stuck out was how Shelby's retention busting video was a personal journey too, and viewers love a journey. So 4 minutes 36 seconds into the video, this is the part where the story really kicks off.
And I just love what she does to hold your attention. Watch this.
First things first, time to write something. We need something to write about. I decided to just transcribe one of my videos that's already done really well on YouTube.
Did you notice that? I'm going to play it again, but this is something Shelby absolutely dominates with.
First things first, time to write something. We need something to write about. I decided to just transcribe one of my videos that's already done really well on YouTube.
What Shelby does is she has a clip in the past, and in the past she's wearing a different coloured outfit, and it's a different camera angle to what we've seen so far. And she says, okay, first things first, time to start writing something. So the viewer's suddenly transported back in time to the start of her personal journey, where she's going to try and write an article for Medium. And then straight after that, her voice comes in as the narrator and fills you in with what happened after that. The whole video just keeps jumping back and forwards between past tense and present narrative. So it's multi-dimensional content, and that is just a beast for your attention because it's not predictable. Now, it's not easy to do. I've been trying to do it in this video and I don't know if I've pulled it off. So the next thing to try for retention is to develop a personal story within your content.
Record yourself doing the thing you were trying to teach and talk to the camera during it to discuss what you're doing and what stage you're at. And then jump in and record a voiceover and narrate what actually happened after to speed the story up and fill in the gaps, of course using B-roll the whole way to make it more interesting. I don't actually wear glasses. But there was still one thing on my mind. How can you guys make videos like this?
So I mentioned earlier that Shelby made this without leaving her home. So she does an amazing job of keeping this visually interesting without really having much to show. And that's where I'm going to start, by looking at her set with you. Now, with all respect to Shelby, there's nothing special about this setup, but at the same time, that's exactly why it's fantastic for you, because I think anyone could get this great look without it being overly complicated.
So here there's 2 doors behind her, and we know from another shot that her bed's in this room too, so it's not a big room. That's important because most people don't have giant filming spaces. But there are also no distractions. It's tidy, it's minimal, it's real, and she's not even hidden her wires or hard drives. So if you're spending ages on your setup every time you film and you're worried about all the finest details, spend that time on working out how to tell your story instead, because it's clearly more important.
So that's her set. What kind of kit do you need to make this work? Well, the good news is Shelby's not actually using a really expensive camera here at all. She's shot this on the Panasonic GH5. But actually, there's some things Shelby does that you can do no matter what the camera you have is or your budget that's going to help you with your attention. And the first thing I want to talk to you about is how she uses movement.
Now, what you'll notice a lot about Shelby's footage is there is always movement. You see that there? It's very slight. When it comes to retention, this slight movement does keep people interested. I'll give you an example to show you what I mean with 3 static clips followed by the same clicks with some movement. The first thing you're going to notice is the static look okay, and when people watch them, it won't offend them, but when you just add a tiny bit of movement to them like this, you can see straight away that suddenly the clips just look better, right? So try this. When you have your B-roll, put it into your editing software and animate it slightly. You can do this on almost all editing software. If yours can't, I'm afraid it's time to upgrade if you're serious about this. Enlarge your image by about 15 to 20% so it doesn't lose too much quality, and then you can add what's called a keyframe here. Shuffle down the clip, add another keyframe here, and then on this last keyframe, move the B-roll to the right or the left. If we watch that back, you can see there's a very subtle movement. The other option is to zoom in a little too. So you hit the keyframe and shuffle down the clip a little and then zoom in and you get this very subtle movement in again. Now don't rush this movement, you want it to be slow and steady. If it looks fast, it looks rubbish. Now as I watched Shelby's video, one thing stuck out as very smart. She clearly didn't have many options to film because there's a pandemic going on and she's got to stay at home. So when you don't have things to film, you have to get creative. So instead, she filmed herself in action and acted out some scenes. So if you don't have anything that interesting to film for B-roll, act out your own scenarios to tell the visual story.
Now, your camera angles are the next thing that are going to help you make your content more interesting and boost retention. Now, I'm not going to go into cinematography here, but what I want you to think about is how you can get more for less.
So the amount of B-roll Shelby uses is pretty epic, and you might not have enough time to get all of this. So the first thing to do is to always shoot a wide and a close of your setup. You can then in the edit jump between these two, and that's going to help keep people interested and tell your story. And this is another retention attention keeper.
So Shelby's screenshots and graphics are really well put together, and the great news is they're actually pretty simple to achieve. If we look at her first screenshot, she's using it to help tell a story, but you can see that the text gives it the interest and that movement. Now, I've taken that clip and I've added a little bit of movement to it, which personally I prefer, and I think it just takes it to another level. The next thing here could actually just be a photo, and in the edit it looks like they've just added some movement to it. So remember, you don't always have to film stuff, you can just take photos and add that motion, and they're great for helping tell a story. Next, how Shelby uses text is something that really works too.
She uses it to give you the timeline of a story by telling you what day she's on. And by the way, I don't want to ruin this for you, but you don't actually need to film this over multiple days. Shelby might have, but it's way easier to make a video like this that tells a story if you just film it all on the same day, change outfits, and then act out the whole thing. Sorry if I'm ruining the magic of YouTube here, but it really does save a lot of time. The text also backs up big points, and she fills the screen with it. It's another element that keeps it visual and moving. What had become apparent with Shelby's videos was that the story and the timeline was really the tough part to grasp.
So I think the way that Shelby uses music throughout her whole piece also adds to the interest and the retention. She's just got this chilled beat going on, and it gives it a little bit more energy. So it's not just one song on repeat, but like a film, it's got its own little soundtrack. Importantly though, it never interferes with the narrative. Now that's a lot of work, right? And really you have to make a decision. This will take you a lot more time, but you need to start trying new things and leveling up your videos, because if you keep just making videos and wishing people watched for longer and never really change anything, then nothing's going to change. And if you spend all your time trying to work out how YouTube works and you don't focus on your content, you're going to learn a lot about YouTube, but you're still not going to make great videos because you can't hack quality. In my next video, I'm going to show you how to increase audience retention after you have uploaded your video.